What do you think life will look like 20 years from now? That was something I was really curious
Some
about.
ideas, some teachings.
Yes, I've done art all my life. I will always do it. But my
Section of art, social justice, and the human spirit.
That was allowing me to really express myself.
Hi, I'm Douglas Bell, and I want to welcome you to The Craft and the Calling. This space within Ringing the Bell is where I sit down with authors, storytellers, and artists whose work resonate with me. Today's guest is someone who I met at the Texas Indie Author Book Fair in Katy, Texas in early October, and I knew right away I had to get her on my show. Her writing has been described as unflinching, and for good reason, because she writes for readers who don't turn away from hard stuff like trauma, identity, illness, addiction, and even class division. I just finished her novel, Tiny Little Pieces, and trust me, this book hits in all the ways that matter. I am honored to welcome Jennifer Lucic to my show, to the conversation. Hi, Miss Jennifer.
Hi, Douglas. Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, your day going okay?
Yeah, going pretty good, going pretty good. Got the kids at school, so I got a little time to hang out.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna jump right in. Generally, I would you know, ask you whether any major changes in your day to day, but I'm gonna jump right into this because I want to tell you I just finished this little gem of a book, and I really enjoyed this
I'm
book. I
so
really
glad.
did.
I'm so
I intend to upload my review on Goodreads and Amazon when this interview is over with. Uh, this book is efficient, it's quick, but it does a lot of heavy lifting.
okay.
It
Yeah.
really, it really does. And the ending was like, okay, like, traveling and, maybe you get a delayed train delay or a plane delay and you're tired. But when you get to your destination, you're kind of like, oh, it was all worth it. So yeah, so for me, that's how I felt about the ending.
So with this book, actually, it's interesting you say that because I wrote this book backwards. I
Oh,
wrote
did
the
you really?
very I wrote the very last line of the book, or that very last idea first, and I worked the whole story around that twist. So,
Really?
yeah, and if you follow it along reading it front to back, you'll see that it kind of skips around a lot. There's a lot of like timeline switches and
Yes.
stuff like that. So that also became a really important part of the ending and tying that all in together. So it was almost easier to write it backwards because I could unravel it in a backwards fashion to make the timeline make sense forward facing. It's hard to explain, but you reading the book, you understand kind of what I'm saying with how the timeline jumps around, and you almost have to write it from the back so that you can get the reveal or the payoff, and then you work the story backwards to make it make sense.
So, by the way you introduced that, so that's not your typical writing process or style.
No, not at all. No,
Okay.
I did this one more just for fun. I'm sure I don't know if you're familiar with the Ocean's 11 movies.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to do something fun like that where like you're watching the movie and you think you're watching something, and then that twist at the end kind of changes the whole story over, and you see
Yes.
these crazy reveals that suddenly make sense. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this book, and I just kind of want the way I figured out how to do that was to write it backwards where I knew the reveal first and then built the build up into that reveal. So no, it's not my typical way of doing things. Typically, I do an outline. I start with an idea, I do an outline, I do all the and I do the forward writing. So this was just something fun that I had a good time writing it.
So your writing style is to create an outline first and then kind of take me from there once you write your outline.
Right. So the outline is my least favorite part, actually. But I do feel like I need it because I like to have a structure. I like
Yeah.
to have a story narrative already in place. I have a tendency to, when I do sit down to start writing, I kind of go off just like free flow thought, you know? So if I don't have a structure there kind of guiding me, I
Hmm.
find myself in different tangents and corners that don't really make sense for what I'm trying to get through in the narrative, you know? So I do like to have a structure, an outline. Sometimes it's scene by scene. Depending on how meticulous I want to get with it, I can even do chapter by chapter, scene by scene, uh, character goals, you know, payoff and reward all within a certain scene. And then that's basically the bones of it. And then you just go in and
Right.
fill it out with words.
Correct. 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 Okay, then I'm like you. I'm a very structured person. I come
Yeah,
from an engineering background, so I need the structure because
right.
to your point, I wind up in some place that has nothing to do with anything that we were talking about.
Right. And then
So
it's sometimes fun to do that, but it doesn't work for what you're trying to get your characters to do or the situations you're trying to put them in, sure.
correct. So now our protagonist in Tiny Little Pieces, um, is well, I mean, can I ask if it's somebody you know, or how do I
Nobody,
ask that question?
okay, so so my books, I tend to write characters that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
But I also, because the stories tend to be very, very traumatic and dark and scary, they're kind of like over exaggerated versions of those people, right?
Okay.
So for Tiny Little Pieces, the character that I wrote the story around is Elijah, the boyfriend in
Hmm.
this. He was his motivation for this character was an old ex-boyfriend of mine
Right.
long, long time ago. So
Who obviously was a mess.
it was a huge mess. Okay. So the characters around him, so he's not the protagonist, obviously. The characters around him, the protagonist, um, she's reacting to him, right? So she's crazy because he's crazy and a
Correct.
mess. So yeah, but the main I guess the start of all of that rested with Elijah, and I built the other characters around him.
Okay. So now this is your second novel, correct?
Yes, that was my second.
So tell me what's your first and how are these different? Because I'm getting the impression that this is really different from your first one.
Very, very different. So my first novel was called Glow Girl, and that is a coming of age story, a very gritty coming of age story about a young woman who goes off to college and she finds a boy that she likes. And she discovers that in order to get any kind of attention from this boy, because he's not paying any mind to her, she has to kind of change who she is in order to get him to notice her. And
Oh,
that brings her down some really dark paths because she's not being authentic to herself. She's trying to be whatever version of a woman she thinks this boy
right,
wants her to be.
right.
So it's very different in that I can personally relate to that a little bit. The story is fictional, of course, but that feeling of wanting someone's attention so badly that you're willing to change yourself to get it is something that I related to myself in
Hmm.
when I went off to college. And
Hmm.
I also think it's something that a lot of young women can relate to. They're trying to find their place in the world. They're trying to
Right.
figure out love. They're trying to figure out independence and being away from their parents. So I write, you know, stories for women in that regard that young women can relate to. So it's different in that that one is very personal. It was also my first novel in that I was really kind of green and still trying to figure it out. The craft, I'm sure, as you know, the craft of writing is ever evolving, and
Hmm.
where we end up is not where we start
Right.
out.
I heard something the other day. Have you heard this that to become, so you, okay, have you heard, first, let me start here. Have you heard the thing that become expert is something it takes 10,000 hours? Have you heard that?
I've heard something along those lines, yes.
Okay, so like playing the piano, playing tennis,
Sure.
whatever. So to become expert takes 10,000 hours. To become expert at the craft of writing, are you ready for this one?
Mm.
It is writing 1,000,000 words.
Oh my gosh. That's
And
scary.
the logic even goes even further to say that you throw away the first million words and it is the second million words that actually matters.
Oh wow. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
But I can relate to that because I understand. I can totally understand where that comes from. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it kind of put things in perspective for me in terms of my journey. I mean, I'm new to this. I get the impression, like when we first met, you've been writing since a young adult, a teenager. Writing for someone else is new to me. It came later in life. But so now, along with your novels, you've also written screenplays.
Yes, I've written some screenplays. I've won some awards for some of the screenplays I've written. I love screenplays. It is a completely different animal as far as craft, as far as format, as far as
Hmm.
what you're allowed to get away with on the page. With screenplays, real estate is everything, just like that LA real estate, you are not allotted extra words or fancy words, so you got to get your point across and you got to make it hit emotionally in a 5 word sentence versus a paragraph. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay.
You don't have the um and when it comes to like giving your screenplays to directors and actors, if you as the writer take too much liberty with how much words direction you're putting in. So like if you and I are writing a novel, it's okay for us to say Sarah looked away and wept or something,
Right.
something like that. In a screenplay, you're not allowed to say that because if you tell the director what that actor is supposed to be doing, that director is going to feel personally offended that you're stepping on their toes.
Wow.
Yes. So the acting and the where the actor is looking and what they're doing, that is a negotiation between the director and the actor.
Actor.
You, as the writer, your only job is to give them the blueprint, but it better be good and it better be emotional and it better make people cry. Yeah. So screenplays are a completely different ballgame, super fun, but so very competitive. And even if you get one person who loves your screenplay, you got to find one person that has millions of dollars to put behind the screenplay. You know
Correct.
what I mean? So
Correct.
it's a completely different, it's a different beast. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Could a screenplay be a basis for a short YouTube
Oh
three
yeah.
minute, 5 minute?
Yeah, and a lot of screenwriters do that. They will write shorts. They're called shorts. So they're like, 3 to 5 to 10 page scripts.
Uh-huh.
Do like a quick YouTube. They call it a proof of concept, and they make these videos. And sometimes those videos act as like promotional material that you can, send out and get a little bit more buzz going for the project. Um,
Okay.
there's a lot of writers that are out of work writers, unfortunately, because that's just the way it goes in Hollywood. And that's what they spend their time doing is they produce shorts and submit those to film festivals and see if there's bite and get things going like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a whole industry. It's really
Okay.
cool.
Okay. So here's a good question. I mean, you've been writing for a while. Um, and I just came back from the Texas Book Festival, and someone asked me this question. How do you define success as a storyteller? Someone actually asked me that, and I was kind of like, oh, so yeah. So what do you define as success as a storyteller?
That is a really interesting question. Because yeah, I've been writing for a long time, but for a very long time, I was just writing for myself and for fun. And
Hmm.
I dreamed of the day that I could call myself a writer. But what does that mean? Like what are you a writer when you've written your own book? Are you a writer when you've sold a book? Are you a writer when you've received an award for your work, when other
Right.
people are recognizing you, what at what point are you a writer?
Right.
So to me, success as a writer, um, when people ask me, "Oh, what do you do?" When people ask, it's a normal conversation just when you
Right.
meet someone, "Oh, what do you do?" And I say, "Oh, I'm an author." Every time I say that, their face lights up
It's true.
because it is so cool to see and to say that you met an author, an author, or someone, in your circle is an author.
Right.
And honestly, it's so simple, but that to me is success because that's about connecting with another human being,
Correct.
right? And that's what creative arts are. You're expressing what's inside of you outside, and so that in the hopes that someone else can connect to it. So, a lot people read my books and that's awesome. I love talking to people about my books, but I also just love that I can say I'm
Yes.
an author and
Yes.
everyone thinks that's so cool.
Yes. Well, but it is, but there's an incredible amount of work that goes into this
Yes.
because it's a lot of people starting
Hmm.
who can't sit there for 10 minutes and keep it going. This is not for everybody. I mean, yeah, you may want to dream about this, but this is difficult.
It is. And there's so many times during the creative process that you really get really, really down on yourself a lot of
Yes.
times because you're writing and you're like, oh, this is amazing one day. And then the next day you're reading it back and editing it and you're like, oh my God, what am I even doing? This is such a waste of time. This sucks. I just have to throw it all out. So it really does take grit to push yourself through that and tell
Hmm.
yourself, no, maybe it sucks right now, but you've been through this before. You can keep going and you can make it better, you know. And then to even push yourself to the point of taking that thing that you made and giving it to the world. Like that's crazy hard to do. That's
Yeah.
like so vulnerable, right?
Yes.
So yeah,
That's that's the scary part. That's
yeah,
the scary part is giving it to someone
yeah,
because you don't have control over what they're going to either do with it or what they're going to give back to you. That's the scary part.
exactly. I
Um, so okay, so tell me what you're working on. Are you working on anything now?
Yeah, so I'm working on book number 4 now, and this one is a story about generational trauma. So we got the protagonist is a young woman in her 20s, her alcoholic mother, and her narcissistic grandmother all living in a house together, and kind of the trials and tribulations of generations of these 3 women living together.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm working on now. And I recently sent the draft manuscript over to my editor for the first round of development, and I sent it over to her feeling pretty good about it. I was like, yeah, she's gonna love this. I can't wait.
Right.
And send it over to her. I get it back about 6 weeks later, and she just ripped
Yes.
me to shreds. And you know what? It was it was a humbling moment, but I went back in and I made the edits and I did the fixes over my own 6 week period.
Hmm.
And what I gave her back was so much better. And now I'm waiting to get it back again, and I'm sure she's still going to have some points, but the point is it's an evolving process and you keep working with it. You don't just
Correct.
throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So we're going to do a quick little lightning round here. I always enjoy that on interviews. So describe your writing in 3 words.
Oh gosh. Harsh, dark, and hopeful.
Oh, what a contradiction.
I like to end on a high note.
What a contradiction. Okay, here's a good one. What is your most surprising feedback you've received from a reader?
I one time got a 1 star review
Hmm.
because the reader didn't see that I had a trigger warning on the back of my book, and she started reading it and she got really uncomfortable with the teenage drug use.
Oh,
There was a trigger warning though. She just didn't see it, but decided to give me a 1-star review anyway.
Wow.
It's
Once again, you just don't know what you're going to get when you give
do
it to
not.
somebody. Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't.
that's what that says.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's see. I want you to complete this sentence. Okay. Writing reminds me that.
Writing reminds me that I have a place to go when I need an escape.
Say that one again.
Writing reminds me that I have a place to go when I need an escape.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, that was okay. I like that. Well, I want to tell you, thank you for spending a little time with me. So, Jennifer, where can we find you on social media and the internet?
Yes, so I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Jennifer Lucic, and on Amazon. You can Google me, Jennifer Lucic, author, and it pops up.
So I want you to know I'm going to be doing a book giveaway of the Texas indie authors, and I put your book in this book bundle of 5 books I intend to give out in December for the holidays, just because I really enjoy reading this book so much.
Oh,
I do want to tell you thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. I mean, this has been such a treat to talk to you because I tell you, I was reading and I was kind of like, this is crazy. You know what? And that guy, I'm gonna go look for him and kick his, well,
yeah.
anyway. um,
I'm so glad you liked it. And that's the reaction I get, like more often than not. I get people that find me that read the book and then find me on social media and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't what?" Like, yeah.
Exactly. So I want to tell you thank you. I'll definitely be in touch, but I want to say to everyone watching today, thank you for being here. Thank you for being present. Please go and look for Jennifer on her social media handles and her website and Amazon. You can also find me too at douglasbellbooks.com. Also to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Douglas Bell Author. Please follow, like, subscribe. But I want to tell you all thank you for being here with me today and take care. Bye bye.
Hi, Douglas. Thanks so much.
If this conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below and let us know your favorite part of the interview, or share what poetry means to you. Hey, and if it inspired you, hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let's keep the power of words alive by spreading these stories far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you'll never miss a beat.